God damn it, stop. Stop opening apps. Okay, for Christ's sake. I'm gonna have to text me 12 fucking times. I'm gonna unplug this motherfucker. how's it going, everybody? I am Ernie, and I am the host of the Habit System. We are a mental health channel. Sorry, I just needed a good drink of coffee. Tonight we're going to be continuing into the next chapter of Unified Protocol for Transdiagnostic Treatment of Emotional Disorders. But if you will just bear with me for a moment, there's definitely something off about this webcam. That definitely needs to be fixed. I don't know, something seems off about the webcam. Like it seems a little bit grainy. That would be the reason right there. Somehow sharpness got turned all the way up. So that's why it looked really grainy. Now everything's all nice and clear. Awesome. So, let's see. Do a... Let's see here. I'm not sure that any forms or anything are needed. Let me go through here. I mean, you might want a piece of pen and paper or something. But, oh, no, there is. Interesting. Okay. But, just a quick little summary of what we talked about last time, which last chapter was setting goals and maintaining motivation, which in summary is clarifying the problem areas you would like to address in as we go through these skills is an important first step in making changes in your life. Setting concrete steps you can take toward these things, which, you know, is the treatment goal form, will help this process feel less overwhelming. Additionally, since you're setting out to make some important changes in your life, thinking about your reasons for changing will keep motivation high. Considering costs of changing will give you an idea of barriers that might get in the way of successfully completing the treatment program. Remember, motivation is not fixed, and your own motivation will change, both increase and decrease as you progress through these skills. This is a natural and normal part of the behavior Okay, of the behavior change process. Revisiting the reasons for and against both changing and staying the same, which the decisional balance form, can help in reminding you how any one skill fits. Can be helpful in reminding you and how any one skill fits into the bigger picture of achieving your important goals. So, and yes, just for proof, I am filling these things out. I am doing. So anyway, just kind of letting, giving time pass for those that want to catch the live stream to be able to catch the live stream. And I guess suppose while we're doing that, we will, let me see if this is still, yeah. Here is the link to where you can find all these forms and such. I don't think I've actually looked at what this looks like. So we'll pull that up, and just so I can see like what kind of order this shows up in. Because I know I tell you guys, I'm like, figure this, figure 4.1, blah, blah, 4 and 4, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know how they're actually listed. Which I guess I should learn. Because that's kind of, an important part of you guys being able to know what you're looking at. Okay, so these aren't, it's not, okay. It's just what the name of the actual thing is. So, for what we did last night, you would want treatment goals and decisional balance. And then tonight, I believe the only one that I saw was going to be needed out. I don't know if it's something we need to like fill out tonight or like immediately, or if, like these other things is not something you have to do right away. But the 3-component model, that was the only form that I saw. So you might want to, but that, again, it's at the very end of the chapter, so. Alright. Looks like it's going to be dead stream, as is customary for when I stream alone for some reason. That's okay. That's cool. That makes me feel less pressured, honestly, because I'm doing this for the VOD. Hey, what's up, Stone? Okay, so chapter 5. Understanding your emotions. What is an emotion? The goal of this chapter is to learn how emotions are necessary and helpful, and to break emotions down into more manageable parts. Let's see here. We're not going to go over the homework review because I basically already did that. Because all it is did you complete your anxiety, depression scales, blah, 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 for the last week. We're not doing that till this Saturday. So. Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway. Oh, but also, though, real quickly, sidetrack thing. I do get paid in less than 10 days. So, well, let me look at the calendar here. Right, okay, so it's actually going to be the Saturday stream of speaking with the entity that is present in the house. Will actually be not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So the last Saturday in July, which it'll be Sunday for you, Stoned. Sunday for our Australian friends. Okay, now how do I get go away. Go away. Get off the screen. There we go. So, let's go to key concepts. Given that the overall goal of these skills is to better tolerate your emotions so you can respond to them more effectively when they come up. The ground floor of the house, which is what we'll cover in chapters 5 and 6. And I'll show you that. I'd say the same streaming time as normal. So whatever, because it's 8:31 p.m. here, so I'll probably start it at 8. So whatever 8 is for you, 8 p.m. So it's 8. Basically, it's 8 p.m. here. So whatever time it is there for you now is when, our regular streaming time. And of course, I'll announce it on Discord when. Alright, so it'll be 11 a.m. for you. Right, so basically, we've gone over everything to help us figure out how to build a foundation, right? So now we're moving on to the ground floor of our mental emotion house, whatever you want to call it. So we're in this chapter and the following chapter. We are on the ground floor of the house, which involves gaining a better understanding of your emotions. In this chapter, you'll learn the important ways that emotions can be helpful in your day-to-day life and why you wouldn't actually want to get rid of all bad feelings. We will also begin to break emotions down into more manageable parts so they feel less overwhelming. And so, I'll show you the figure. So, as you can see, we've already done our foundation in the first few chapters. So now, we're going to move up to the ground floor. So, why are we focusing on emotions? As we discussed in Chapter 1, a person may have an emotional disorder when wow, that's... I don't know why, but this is all very gender specific of being female. That's weird, because it just says her instead of there. And I don't support that, so I will do my best not to slip up and say her. Which I think that's very fucking weird. Don't know why, but smoking was also really giving me issues of concentrating. Or it just could be the massive amount of caffeine I've had today. Anyway, as we discussed in Chapter 1, a person may have an emotional disorder when their emotions are so overwhelming that they interfere with their ability to live the life that they want to lead. People with emotional disorders tend to view their emotions negatively, such as, "This is so uncomfortable." "It is bad to feel this way." And as a result, they try to avoid them. In fact, people often seek treatment to get rid of uncomfortable emotions like anxiety, fear, anger, sadness, or guilt. These emotions occur in people with anxiety disorders. For example, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, or generalized anxiety disorder. Depressive disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, and others. Okay. Unfortunately, pushing away emotions doesn't work very well. The more energy you spend trying to suppress or avoid emotions, the less you can focus on things in your life that are important to you, and less than you can... What the fuck did this just say? We'll just retry that. The more energy you spend trying to suppress or avoid emotions, the less you can focus on things in your life that are important to you, and the less you can move forward, making you feel worse in the long term. Instead of getting rid of negative emotions, the goal of these skills are to help you respond differently when they come up. In the next 2 chapters, we will teach you to listen to your emotions because their fundamental purpose is to communicate important information about the world around you. We will also help you understand how your emotions can go from providing this useful input to feeling totally overwhelming. We'll do this by breaking down emotions into the more manageable parts, into thoughts, physical sensations, and behaviors. Then, in later chapters, we'll zero in on each of these 3 parts, providing you with specific ways to make changes to your emotional response. I fucking love Starbucks so much. Okay. So we're gonna break down emotions, as I say, into more manageable parts. Will be, we'll like say fear, split it into the way you think, how you feel when you experience this emotion, and the behaviors you exhibit while experiencing a certain emotion. Then later on, in later chapters, we'll zero in on each of those specific parts and provide specific ways to make changes to those responses. Okay. Really? So, not that I feel anyone really needs this, but we're basically going to go through emotions and explain what each emotion is. Why do we have emotions? Oh, I guess this is more explaining why, I guess, going to try to explain why each of these emotions is important. But okay. Why do we have emotions? Imagine what it would be like if we had no emotions. How would we know if our lives are suddenly in danger without a sense of fear? How would we know to stand up for ourselves without a sense of anger? Even though these emotions may feel bad or dangerous, they actually tell us important information about our situation. They also motivate us to take action in ways that keep us safe or help us move forward with our goals. So, let's take a closer look at how our emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, are necessary and helpful. No, I did. I bought all three of these books. Because, like I said, I'm gonna be doing the work through this book, just like everybody else that you know watches the VODs, whatever. You know, so it's just as important for me to read this book as it is for me to read this book to you. Alright, so fear. Fear is nature's alarm system. It lets us know that we might be in danger and that we need to take steps to protect ourselves. For example, imagine you're crossing the street when you notice that a car is coming straight at you. This situation would instantly prompt fear for pretty much everyone. The feeling would be associated with physical sensations that prepare the body to flee such an unsafe situation, like an increased heart rate to pump blood to the arms and legs, and pupils dilating to scan for danger. Fear also provides a sense of urgency to act, often without thinking. In this situation, you would likely jump out of the way onto the sidewalk. If you felt nothing, you might continue to walk leisurely across the street, possibly being run over. Thank you for that mental image. So as you can see here, the uncomfortable emotion of fear actually plays an important role in keeping us safe. Well, yeah, no shit. Okay, moving on to sadness. Sadness is the emotion that naturally occurs after a loss or a setback related to something or someone that is important to us, such as the death of a loved one, a breakup, or losing a job we enjoyed. This emotion is also really common when we notice significant differences between the way our life is and how we want it to be. For instance, we might feel sad about a job because we find ourselves not progressing like we had hoped. Or we feel sad because we're experiencing struggles in a relationship that we really care about. Sadness is associated with physical sensations like heaviness in the body and feeling tired. Sadness signals the need to pull back so that the loss or setback can be processed. For example, feeling sad after a breakup lets you know that the relationship or aspects of that relationship were important to you. Withdrawing to process what went wrong and what characteristics you want to look for in a new relationships may help you find greater success with a future partner. This information would be lost if you jumped immediately in a new relationship because you wanted to avoid feeling any sadness. This emotion also signals to others that we may need support and comfort. Humans are social animals, not me, which means we sometimes need help to get back on our feet. Expressing sadness naturally draws others towards us. So here again, a seemingly bad emotion of sadness serves an important function in our lives. I just feel like this is a lot of no shit descriptions of emotions. I mean, I'm not, knocking the book and all, but it's like, yeah, well, no shit, you feel sad about a breakup. Unless it was to my ex-wife, in which case, that was more like a celebration and a new sense of freedom. Anxiety. Anxiety is the emotion that helps us prepare for the future. Anxiety alerts us to important and potentially dangerous situations that might occur. This emotion also prompts us to focus our attention on whatever is causing the anxiety so we can prevent or decrease a negative outcome or threat. For example, feeling anxiety before a big presentation at work or school lets you know that this task is important. It also prompts you to begin preparing so that you're not caught off guard. Imagine if you didn't feel anything as the day of the presentation approached. You probably wouldn't feel motivated to practice and might not even be prepared for difficult questions from the audience. Yet again, we see an uncomfortable emotion that serves a very clear purpose in our lives. No shit. Like, I'm actually starting to get annoyed with this chapter because it's just like we'll roll with it. Maybe they're reaching a point other than, because it's all just seems like negative emotions. Yeah. I mean, it's all just negative shit, and it's basically explaining why it's not necessarily bad to have the feelings. I'm sorry, but my anxiety fucking sucks. And I would love to not have it and not feel it every fucking day. Anyway, anger. Anger is a natural response when we feel we, or people that we care about, have been wronged in some way. Anger and the similar emotion of frustration also occurs when we feel like we're being blocked from achieving important goals. This emotion alerts us that our boundaries have been crossed and motivates us to do something about it. For example, imagine you discover that your phone company has been charging you hidden fees for months and expects you to pay them right away or they'll shut off your service. Feeling anger in this situation lets you know that something unfair has happened. You shouldn't be expected to pay for services you didn't use. This anger would also probably prompt you to speak to a customer service manager to demand that the charges be reversed. Here, the emotion of anger also signals to the other person that they have frustrated or wronged you. Anger has had a bad reputation because it can be associated with destructive behavior like yelling and breaking things. If you're my ex-wife. It is important to separate this possible response to anger from the experience of the emotion itself. It's very important to pay attention to anger when it occurs because it signals to you that you may need to defend yourself. Hey, what's up, Trevor? I guess this is more telling you giving you healthy examples of each of these quote-unquote bad emotions. Or, when it's okay to feel them. Doing alright, Trevor. We're just getting through the Unified Protocol for Transdiagnostic Treatment and Emotional Disorders. We're currently on Chapter 5. Which is understanding emotions. Alright. Lastly here, guilt/shame. Guilt and shame occur when we fall short of some standard. Specifically, guilt is a natural response when we go against society's expectations in some way. For example, you might feel guilty if you forget to pay your friend back after borrowing money. Guilt in this situation would likely prompt you to make amends by apologizing and getting your friend the cash. Shame occurs when we fail to achieve a personal standard and feel lesser in value. For instance, being unable to pay a friend back because you don't have any money may trigger feelings of shame. Shame, similar to sadness, prompts withdrawal from others. This withdrawal may give a person room to think about how they might achieve their goals going forward to feel better about themselves in the future. In both cases, these emotions motivate helpful behavior. Guilt helps people maintain important relationships by apologizing, and shame helps people achieve their goals by prompting hard work. A side note. A note about shame and abuse. Very often, people who have experienced abuse, such as emotional, physical, or sexual, feel an ongoing shame long after the abuse has ended. Even though abuse is never the fault of the victim, people often report feeling shame while the abuse is happening. This is because shame can communicate submission to the abuser through body language, tears, having your head held down. Submission in the moment of abuse may serve a protective role as it might prevent the abuser from hurting the person more. For example, if a person refrains from fighting back while being beaten, the abuse may stop sooner. Unfortunately, the feelings of shame can last much longer than is helpful. As we work through these skills, we will identify ways that shame and other emotions are maintained in situations where they are not warranted and work to change these responses. So, positive emotions. Um, I mean, it's really, now that, we have system communication again, if an altar in particular feels like fronting, I do, allow for them to front. But generally, they don't just. But there, yeah, I do have triggers that sometimes cause certain altars to front. Well, I don't choose when they're triggered out. But if it's a, communication of a mutual understanding, and says, like, say, Garrett's like, hey, would you mind if I fronted for a little while? And as long as I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And that's usually the way it goes. But no, like if I see somebody getting bullied or whatever, like I get triggered, and it's always instantly Gambit that comes out. So I guess you could say it's situational. Moving on. Positive emotions. Positive emotions like happiness, excitement, and pride also communicate important information. Positive emotions help us identify what we value in life and how we want to be spending our time. For example, if you pick up a new hobby that brings you a lot of joy, what are you likely to do? You're gonna keep doing it. Sometimes people try to avoid positive emotions because they're afraid that once the emotion ends, they'll feel even worse than they did before. Or they'll prevent themselves from getting excited because they worry that if things don't work out, they'll feel more disappointed than if they hadn't got excited in the first place. That's basically me. Like, I don't get excited about anything until it's, like, happening. Like vacation or going somewhere or something, or something's supposed to be happening. Until it's actually happening, I'm like, Sometimes people with depression avoid positive experiences like socializing because they find it distressing that they don't enjoy these experiences as much as they used to. Without positive emotions, though, we wouldn't know what direction to go in our lives. It is important to allow ourselves to feel the full range of emotions, negative and positive. Summarizing the importance of emotions. As you can see from these examples, emotions serve a necessary role in our lives. All of these emotions communicate very important information about the world around us and motivate us to act. Without them, we'd be unable to move successfully through life. In fact, we evolved to have emotions because they're so important for the survival of our species. Emotions are hardwired into us. Even if we wanted to, we'd be unable to push them away completely. That's why these skills focus on accepting emotions and responding in more helpful ways when they come up. Now you may be saying to yourself, Well, I can see how fear can be adaptive, but what about the fear I seem to feel for no reason when I have a panic attack? Or maybe you're thinking, anxiety might be useful to some people, but I can't turn it off. I feel it all the time. I literally just said that a few minutes ago. You might also be wondering, how does normal sadness in response to a loss turn into feeling so depressed you can't get out of bed? Now, even though we know that all these emotions are important in the normal course of everyone's life, sometimes they come up in the wrong situations and they can feel too intense to be productive. So how do our emotions go from something useful to something overwhelming? The short answer is in the way that we respond to them. In order to begin to explore how this process unfolds, let's first break down what happens when we feel a strong emotion. Wow, man. I swear I did not read ahead. This book just straight called me out about anxiety. Okay. So here's where you might want pen and paper, because it does have questions. Or you can just mentally answer it. Doesn't matter. What is an emotion? What exactly is an emotional response? You may feel like your emotions are a big cloud of intense feelings. This may make it difficult to identify what useful information your emotions are trying to tell you. One way to make something feel less overwhelming is to break it down into its main parts. Every emotional experience can actually be broken down into 3 components: what we think, how we physically feel, and what we do. By paying attention to each of these parts, your emotions may begin to feel a bit less overwhelming. The 3 components of emotional experiences are, starting with number 1, cognitive. In other words, what you think. Your thinking in any given situation can really color how you feel about it. For example, if you tell yourself that you're going to lose your job, you'll probably begin to feel anxious. Or if you tell yourself that you don't deserve to be in a loving relationship, you might feel ashamed or sad. The relationship between thoughts and emotions goes the other way too. For example, when you feel sad, you're more likely to have thoughts about the situation being hopeless or being inadequate. Saying to yourself, I always mess things up. In contrast, if you're feeling pride, you may have thoughts about how capable you are. Telling yourself, I know I can do this. To begin to see how thoughts are important in any emotional experience, try to remember what you were thinking the last time you felt the emotions listed in the following spaces. And this is where pen and paper, but you know. You can write it down or... okay. Or you could just, do mental notes. It's fine. What were some of the thoughts going through your head the last time you felt anxious? I'll give everybody about 30 seconds to a minute to, really ponder over these questions. So again, what were some of the thoughts going through your head the last time you felt anxious? What about the last time you felt angry? What thoughts were going through your head the last time you felt that? And finally, what were some of the thoughts going through your head the last time that you felt guilty? Which takes us on to number 2, physiological, or how you physically feel. Every emotion is associated with a physiological response. In other words, your body goes through physical changes every time you experience an emotion. For example, fear is often accompanied by a faster heart rate, a tensing of the muscles, and maybe even shortness of breath. Remember, fear's job is to protect you from danger, and these physiological changes are the body's way of getting ready to take action. Anxiety may be accompanied by sweaty palms, muscle tension, or perhaps a knot in your stomach. These changes alert us that something important is looming and that we should prepare. Sadness may be accompanied by the sensation of extreme tiredness and heaviness in the limbs, prompting us to withdraw to process. So let's see if you can identify the physiological sensations that might accompany the following states. What physical sensations come with feeling excited, besides a hard-on? What about when experiencing panic? What physical sensations come with anger? And finally, what about when you're feeling embarrassed? How does that physically make you feel? Hey, Hans. Going pretty good. So that brings us on to number 3, behavioral. In other words, what you do when you are feeling these emotions. Whenever you feel an emotion, it is accompanied by the urge to act. We discussed some of the behavioral urges that we discuss some of the ways these behavioral urges can be helpful. For example, jumping out of the way of an oncoming car in response to fear, standing up for yourself in response to anger. Sometimes, however, the things we do in response to strong emotions may not seem very useful. For example, someone who is extremely sad may watch television because the thought of getting out and confronting the day is too overwhelming. Or someone who is anxious in social settings may quickly leave a crowded party where they were expected to interact. Someone who is feeling guilty may completely avoid a loved one rather than face the interaction. So next, begin thinking about what you do or feel like doing in response to the following emotions. What do you do or feel like doing when you're sad? What do you do or feel like doing when you're angry? And finally, what do you do or feel like doing when you're ashamed or embarrassed? These three components, thoughts, physical sensations, and behaviors, can be found anytime we experience an emotion. Sometimes one component may be easier to identify. For example, you may be very aware of physical sensation in a given situation, but less aware of your behaviors or thoughts. In contrast, you might notice your thoughts more easily, but less aware of physical sensations and behaviors. It's important to take note of all three parts of an emotion because they can feed off each other. We use the three-component model of emotions form, which will be at the end of the chapter, to break down any given emotional experience into each of these three parts, which I will show you. Okay, so that's the three-component model. Just physical sensations, thoughts, and behaviors. It is the Unified Protocol for Transdiagnostic Treatment of Emotional Disorders. And so for an example, let's go to page 168 and it kind of show you the example of how it's filled out. Okay, so these are two examples. Alright, their situation is late for the bus and the emotion they feel is anxiety. Their physical sensations, heavy breathing, faster heart rate, dizzy. Thoughts, this is so uncomfortable. If I get on this bus, I'm going to have a panic attack. It's happening. I'm definitely going to panic. Behaviors, what you're physically doing. Walking to work instead. Alright, and for this one, the situation is a friend cancels plans and the emotions associated are sad and embarrassed. So the physical sensations they feel is a lump in their throat and fatigue. What they're thinking, of course she doesn't want to hang out with me. I am so lame. I might as well go to bed early. And then behaviors. I mean, what they're doing or what they feel like doing. Ruminate about what I did to upset my friend. And go to bed at 8 p.m. Which, I realized these were a lot easier to read when the camera looked shittier and grainier. But I like looking pretty. So, as I said, we use the 3-component model of emotions form, which again I will post the link for all these forms. Again, I need to set up a command for this. So this will just randomly pop up instead of having to fucking copy and paste it all the time. So that you can get, you know, as many of these blank forms that you need. You know, because you might need 20 of these things. Because, you know, you write down your situation, the situation that's going on, how it's making you feel, and then, you know, what you're feeling in your body, what you're thinking, and what you're doing and what you feel like doing in those situations. And because later on, in later chapters, we're gonna target each one of those specifically each one of those little groups to kind of help you learn the skills to better manage that situation. This is actually the first week that we really have gone like a chapter every night, because the first few chapters were basically just, you know, explaining what this book is and what it's teaching. But, you know, I'm gonna go through a chapter of it every night until we're done with it, and then once we're done with that one, with this book, we'll start on reclaiming your life from a traumatic experience. And then after we finish that book, we will go into Got Parts, an insider's guide to managing life successfully with a dissociative identity disorder. Goddamn on-screen keyboard. But like I said, all these things and everything that's in this book, you can work with your therapist. You know, and be like, hey, I watched the stream. It's lots of. Well, see, the thing is, it's not just lecture. I'm all these things that are in this book, I'm doing to myself. So it's just as much me reading, like, for example, you know, I feel all these things out, So I'm doing the work too. But I figured since I was going through these workbooks to help myself, while I'm learning from the book, why not help our community as well? So, in the first example, a man is hurrying to catch the bus. As he reaches the bus stop, okay, actually this is just talking about the examples. We literally just went over the answer. Went over that. Okay. So, paying attention to this process is the first step in understanding how the experience of an emotion can go from informative to overwhelming. I would like for everyone, just like I will, to use the 3-component model of emotions form. Oh, no, I understood what you meant. Yeah, I understood what you meant. I was just saying, yeah, it's a lot of stuff to read, but I'm doing it because I'm finding it beneficial for myself, and I really want to share it with our community. So, at the end of this chapter, anytime you're feeling a strong emotion over the next week, at least once a day, if possible, taking note of what you're thinking, feeling in your body, and doing or feel like doing. Sometimes the emotions you want to work on with this program do not come up very often for you. Wait, okay. Let me start that over because my brain just started. Sometimes the emotions you want to work on with this program do not come up very often for you. This may occur because you're actively avoiding activities that provoke these feelings, or you simply might not come across situations that bring on these emotions regularly. For example, flying in an airplane. If you have anxiety about being in an flying, or discomfort about flying, and you're not going to go on a plane every damn day or every week, so it's not going to come up very often. It may be helpful to think about the activities you can do this week to get some experience with the emotions you're working on. This will allow you to practice the skill discussed in this chapter. You might look to the steps you wrote down, refer back to chapter 4 if needed, that were associated with your goals for some ideas. So, in order to, I guess, put yourself in some of the situations where you may feel anxiety, whatever, if you wrote down over, getting control of my anxiety in chapter 4, and your thing, try doing one of the steps that you wrote down for your concrete goal. So, in summary, in this chapter we've discussed how all emotions, even the ones we traditionally think of as bad, play an important role in our lives. They prompt us to pay attention to a given situation and can motivate us to take action in helpful ways. We also saw how emotional experiences can be broken down into 3 main parts: thoughts, physical sensations, and behaviors. By breaking emotions down into these parts, they may feel less overwhelming. In the next chapter, we continue to discuss how emotional experiences unfold and also discuss the consequences to our responses. So, homework time. So, unlike the weekly thing that everybody's going to fill out on Saturday, this one needs to be done daily. Complete the 3-component model form once a day over the course of this week. Select at least one emotional experience that occurs each day and break it down into thoughts, physical sensations, and behaviors. You may want to make photocopies of the form so that you can have a fresh copy to write on each day, or you may download additional copies from the Treatments That Work website at the link that I have posted in chat. Continue monitoring your weekly experiences using progress record. You're not doing that till Saturday. But anyway, so 3-component model. If you don't have a printer or you can't really do PDF, alright, take a blank piece of paper, write down your situation, what's going on, what you're doing, whether you're sitting at home, watching TV, talking on the phone, visiting with friends, whatever the situation is that brings up a particular emotion that you struggle with. Write the emotion down, then just make 3 circles on a scratch piece of sheet of paper. Start at the top, which will be your physical sensations, what you're feeling in your body physically. Alright, and then down here, thoughts, exactly what you're thinking. And over here, behaviors, what you're doing or what you feel like doing. Okay? Because, because that's like Micah did, she just took a blank sheet of paper instead of downloading the shit, and she did her pros and cons that way. So alright, starting tomorrow night, we will start on the second part of understanding your emotions. And the goals of that chapter will be to look for patterns in your emotional triggers. What causes your emotional experiences? And to explore the short and long-term consequences of your emotional responses. Which we will get into that tomorrow night. Woo! See how much quicker we get through a chapter when Micah's not here? Because it's always... Long story short, let me sit here and ramble for 10 minutes about something that the book's about to say in the next fucking paragraph, so I can be like, called it! I'm sorry. I love you, baby. I just like make it just tease you a little bit. Nah. Micah's really good. I mean, she's really good at thinking of things to talk about that I wouldn't even associate with what we're talking about at the moment, and I guess the word I'm looking for is better breaking down what each section I'm reading is about. Because I just read from the book and don't really bother giving further explanation, because to me I'm just like, alright, this is what the book says, this is what you do, and I don't know what the fuck else to tell you. But, you know, Mike has been going through therapy and all these things like a lot longer than I have, so she's got a lot more tools in her belt than I do. Oh, she is at home tonight, enjoying a much needed and well deserved rest. So, you know, which was, you know, the book, me going through the chapters with you guys, was actually the original idea of what I was going to do when Micah wasn't here to stream with me anyway. Because, I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. She's not going to be able to be here every night. But, you know, last week we decided we can't do these long breaks between chapters anymore. And so that's why we're just gonna go through the book every night. We're gonna go chapter every night until we're through the book, regardless of if Mike is here or not. Because having the book and doing this stuff with you turned an hour and a half stream of me basically just kind of like listening to music, not really knowing what to say, into an hour and a half of just straight learning content. So yeah, basically, Nathan. Yep, we just finished chapter 5. Which I don't know, Nathan, do you have any kinds of emotional disorders? I don't think I've ever asked you that. More specific, let me go over a list, and you tell me if there's anything, things you struggle with. See, panic disorders such as panic attacks, generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, major depressive disorder, persistent depressive disorder, borderline personality disorder, eating disorder, or self-destructive behavior. If you fall under any of these categories, you should pay attention to these. I'm not asking you to name me. I'm saying if you do, that's up to you to keep it to yourself. I was just letting you know that if you did, regardless of whether you want people to know or not, this book can help you. That's all I'm saying. You ain't gotta confirm or deny a motherfucking thing. Your journey is your journey. But, yeah. So again, let me pull the website up again so I can tell you exactly which form. Okay, the 3-component model. So far from the website, the forms that you need, or, well, hell, that you should download if you can. The anxiety scale, depression scale, the 2 optional other emotion scale, positive emotion scale, progress record, treatment goals, decisional balance, and 3-component model, because those are all the ones that we've covered so far. Tomorrow night I will definitely be following your arc. I don't know if mindful emotion awareness is going to be one of the forms in the chapter or not. I mean, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot. There's a lot of forms. Alright. What do I enjoy to do on stream? I enjoy talking to you guys. Nathan, I don't get it, man, because I've looked at it on every platform. Me and Micah streams, 10, 20 views. Okay. Sleep stream, 1,000 views. I don't, like, what? Why? It's like, nah, I don't want to learn nothing informational, but I don't know. I will be completely honest with you. It came in a package from Streamlabs. I believe the package is called Fenrir. When I was able to get it when I did the what's it called? What the fuck is it called? No, okay, apparently it's back. It did not like me. Whatever. Ultra. Streamlabs Ultra. I mean, it is like legit, like Norse runes. I mean, I probably actually could decipher it. So I've got a scene where it's actually still. Yeah. I'm sorry. Let me mute the fucking song. But yeah, I've got a still of it where it's not rotating. So, I mean, it's literally like the name of the pack is called Viking Gods Fenrir. So, I don't know. I mean, you can kind of guess who fucking picked it out. It was not me. Because I'm not Viking, I am Irish. But, you know. I can't have every single thing my way. So. No audio.